first, let me introduce our guest today, sir. We're glad to have you. Tell people who we are.
Yes, my name is Ronald Miles. I was born and raised in East Baltimore. I attended the notoriety Paul Laurence Dunbar High School, and I'm a graduate of Morgan State University.
All right, the Morgan State University.
I would say that.
All right, and Brother Miles, it's nice to have you here. You were born in this neighborhood, so tell us about the neighborhood when you were born and what neighborhood was like in the 60s and 70s.
Okay, I could talk about it. I'll go all the way back to the 40s, actually.
Right.
Actually, right here, across the street there used to be the Somerset Projects. You know what they say about the Somerset Project. Actually, too, and I learned from my mom that she didn't even get out of the house. And I was born in the house. So it was in Nolan Court. And it was right across the street here, facing where we are now. That's currently under development.
Now that's Central. We're at Central and where?
Central Avenue and Monument Street.
In East Baltimore, right?
East Baltimore. And not only that, but we have the Dunbar Field now that's categorized to this site. And my grandmother lived in the 1200 block of East Madison Street. And that's right across the street there.
So your roots in this neighborhood are deep.
It's very, very deep.
Well, we're here at the Chick Webb Center. Tell us a little bit about the Chick Webb. Well, first of all, who was Chick Webb?
Oh, Chick Webb was one of the most famous drummers in the country, most notably known by his drumming. And he too grew up here in East Baltimore on Ashland Avenue, right up the street here. And he was kind of like very deformed and all, but he made fame in regard to his musical background. And although we concentrate on Chick Webb's musical background, he was an awesome philanthropist, especially during the time of the Depression.
All right, so a little bit, because obviously you told me about Chick Webb, and I understand that he was born here in Baltimore, around the corner from here, and he had suffered an injury as a child and had a spinal deformation, and I think that's when he took up music in order to express it. He's one of the great big band leaders of all time. Matter of fact, he's one of the first ones. Before some of the other well-known names, he was a band leader, and he discovered Ella Fitzgerald, correct?
He was.
All right.
Actually, Ella Fitzgerald took over his band after he died in 1939. But anyway, another thing about Chick Webb is his church is across the street here. That's the Waters AME Methodist. He's a Methodist church, and he still have relatives that's there right now.
That's beautiful.
And they are part of this new development that's taking place, Waters AME Church. So that's one of the major facilities or operations here in East Baltimore.
So how did the center come about? Tell us the story about Chick Webb and how.
Let me tell you, I learned to swim here when I was like 9 years old, and I became a lifeguard. But I never learned the story of Chick Webb. It wasn't until I was much older in age. I was over 70. But anyway, the story goes this way. Chick Webb, being a major fundraiser in New York, helping different groups and all, on his deathbed here, he indicated to his doctor, Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young, he says, I want to always do something for our black youth. He said, Doc, if you call my friend Joe Lewis, he will fill any house. This is what he said on his deathbed. Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young, he said, call my friend Joe Lewis. This is quoted from the Afro-American newspaper. This is where I got this information. He said, call my friend Joe Lewis, he'll fill any house. So Dr. Young convened by calling Joe Lewis, and they had a concert here in Baltimore at the 5th Regiment Armory that attracted more than 7,000 people. And they raised the money to build the recreation center that stands here today. Now,
what year would that have been?
This was he died in 1939, so the center actually was built in 1947.
Okay.
Now, there's a story between that, because you know that the war broke out. So after they did the fundraiser with the entertainers, nationally renowned black entertainers, because there was Ella Fitzgerald was a performer, Louis Armstrong, Jackie Moms Mabley, Duke Ellington, Mercer Ellington, the Ink Spots, all of them performed at the Chick Webb Armory to raise the first initial money. Also, the Baltimore Elite Giants, who was the champions of the Negro Baseball League, did an exhibition baseball game, and the African American newspaper did a fashion show. So that was all black, because the city of Baltimore and the YMCA indicated that they could not, they couldn't do a black facility for youth here in Baltimore. Very segregated. So that's how it began. And we had a break in fundraising. It took 8 years because the committee, the recreation committee, put the money in war bonds. After they came out of the war, Dr. Young continued the fundraiser, and he attracted different black philanthropic groups and those kinds of things like that. And we used to be an ice house here. So the community bought the land and built the first phase of this recreation center. It's called the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center. So it was done in honor of William Henry Chick Webb.
All right. And so you said you learned to swim here?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was like 9 years old. I've given testimonies to the city of Baltimore planning development and everything. Anytime I give a testimony, I let them know that I used to take a bath in a tin tub in front of a pot-belly stove. When I came over here, jump into that chlorine water, I felt I was in heaven. So they used to do very instructional. They had instructional swim, and we had recreational swim.
All right.
And you get your Red Cross certifications in different classes, from beginner, intermediate, and then life-saving.
Now, as a young man, other than learning to swim, what other things did you do or participate here in the Chick Webb Recreational Center?
I came primarily for swimming, but it's recorded that they used to have more than 500 young people in here on a daily basis. They had modern dance, we had light games, it was just a host of all kinds of programs for youth. It was pretty much designed for the youth. And here in segregated Baltimore, we couldn't hardly go anywhere. So this was the place where we came.
All right. And so at some point the city took it over. When did that happen?
The city didn't take it over because what occurred was, after the Recreation Committee created its first recreation center. I should also mention, though, that the center was built in 1947.
Okay.
The city came on board in 1949 by adding a swimming pool.
Okay.
So the swimming pool was added that was able then to accommodate the Dunbar High School, which is across the street, right there. So again, so we used that. So the city came on board in 1949, and the committee then turned the property over to the city of Baltimore for operations.
Okay.
So it's been under the Department of Recreation and Parks over the course of years.
So what's the future? What's happening with the center now? What do you envision is the future for the center?
Well, one thing is, because this is a challenged neighborhoods and going under transformation, I would call it transformation, whereas they tore down the old Somerset projects, and they're going to be about 2,000 new homes with retail space, and businesses and offices going to be right across the street. So in 2016, the developers wanted to include the Chick Webb Rec Center as part of that, but they wanted to demolish it, and they wanted to put a YMCA here. That's when I got involved to save Chick Webb building and have it designated as a historic landmark. So it wasn't me alone, because I worked with legendary East Baltimoreans and Dunbar alumni graduates. And we called ourselves the Dunbar Coalition, and over an 8-month period, we finally got this designated as historic. Now, I would ask the question, after being designated historic, as we see so much, you can get something to designate, what happens after that? So to complement the redevelopment and again look for equity, what role will the center play as far as the redevelopment? So we're working with the city of Baltimore and other stakeholders in order to now improve and expand Chick Webb. So over the last year and a half now, I believe, we've been working with the Department of Recreation and Parks to do improvement and expansion of the Chick Webb Center. So we're in that process now. Right now, the city has almost $20 million on the table for the improvement and expansion. But what they do is we go through what they call a community process or community input.
Mm-hmm.
So the community participated in a survey back in April to May. So we have on the table pretty much what the community desires for that. So I think it was just too premature to just put a dollar amount on the side without first hearing what the community said. So now we are actually now moving towards, it's beyond the initial budget of 12 million, because we're at almost 17 million now. And I think we're still negotiating in order to identify exactly what was going to go here.
If people wanted to become involved with the project to preserve and become involved with your efforts with the community center here, how would they do so?
They'll do so is that I've formed a nonprofit called the RJY Chick Webb Council, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a Facebook page, and we have now expanded because of the story of Chick Webb. It's not just Baltimore.
All right, so now what's the name of that nonprofit again?
RJY Chick Webb Council,
all right,
Incorporated.
And it's
we are
on
a
Facebook?
501c3. It is on Facebook.
And so donations are tax deductible?
They are tax deductible. And we have the information there where you can hit a tab and we can take cash app or by check or whatever. Like
Is there a phone number or?
I can be reached at, first of all, I can be reached by Gmail at rjychickweb@gmail.
Okay.
rjychickweb@gmail.com. And my phone number is 443-413-0768. We are an emerging group, pretty much all volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
No funding from any place. So our board has been participating with our operations and the work that we're doing.
Now, those people that have watched this and the members of the community want to become active in the community and active in the preservation of this, what is the first thing that you would tell them to do?
Well, the first thing I tell them to do is that we talk about 3 Ds.
Mm-hmm.
We have doers. That means as we're negotiating with the city, sometimes I need people to do testimonies. I need letter writing. I need folks to reach out politically and tell the story of Chick Webb with your neighbor to anybody. So again, educating you as far as the history is putting you out there to do that as our doers. Then there's room for everybody. We have donors, those who embrace the concept of what we are doing and work with us. We have part of any donation go to a dedicated fund where we are looking at doing a wax. We're partnering with the Great Blacks in Wax.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to do a wax figure of both Chick Webb and Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young. So any donation, 20% goes to our pot to develop that. And our donor attractor, that's the 3rd D. Just help us point to somebody who have an open ear that buys into our objective, our goal, and we can work with that. And again, you can reach me through 443-413-0768. We have, in the council, we have 3 committees. We have our membership committee, and again, that's constantly reaching out, bringing people in, educating them. We have our budget and finance committee that maintaining, got to make sure your systems are in place for your finances, who also do our outreach for our fundraising as far as grants. If you're a grant writer, fine. And we have our membership budget and finance, and we have our program committee. Program committee is that what we do is put together projects that we want to continue to educate. We're looking at doing a festival sometime in the fall that will highlight mostly like drummers. I have a proposal in to do that kind of stuff. And again, here in the neighborhood, our program committee, we would like to integrate the community to recognize the assets of the community and become participatory. And as our center gets built out, we're going to want our communities to participate with the activities in the recreation center. I'm not going to call it a recreation center. We want to talk about a health and wellness center that would accommodate not only the youth, but when you look at the demographics of the area, we have to also deal with our seniors and what kind of programming we want. One of the ideas we have for the center is a founder's room, so that folks will become more knowledgeable about the initial founders, and a recording studio. And again, we're talking about a walking track, we're talking about a weight and health room. Those are the initial conversations we have with the city in order as we are looking at redeveloping the center.
All right.
So to accommodate the community, not only locally, but when we tell the story nationally, folks will come into Baltimore to see the groundwork of the Chick Webb and the initial Black renowned persons who built this particular center.
Now wait a minute, there was years ago I was a bass player, so I know a lot of drummers out there, and y'all know Chick Webb. People studied underneath him, Buddy Rich, other people like that developed their talent. He was one of the great first drummers and drum leaders of the jazz age.
Absolutely.
And all the techniques and things that have been developed to the modern age emanated from the talent of Brother Webb. So, Brother Webb, I want to thank you for being with us here today. Look, again, if you want to participate, come out, help out, what is the number again, and what is how you contact you?
RJY Chick Webb Council. We have a Facebook page, and we also have a web page, so you can reach our web page from the Facebook page. I'm sorry I can't give you all that kind of information, such a long title. And I can be reached at 443-413-0768. My name is Ronald Miles. I'm the president, CEO, and founder.
And Brother Miles, if things come up in the future, you're going to let us know here at Sweeting Log, and so that we can keep the word out and what's going on. And we're going to work with us to make sure this happens and your vision for East Baltimore.
See, and another thing I must make to the community, everything is not easy, because again, we are mostly looking for people to contribute, because when you get city money or federal money, we don't want to get co-opted.
Yeah,
we want to stay independent, as well as having the time that oftentimes nothing comes easy. We're about advocacy as well.
Well, let me ask you this. What people lived here when this was created?
What people lived here?
Yeah.
Projects right there, black folk right here.
And what people built this?
Black folk built this, renowned black folk.
And what people are going to keep this?
Well, that's what we have to be negotiating.
All right, black folk. We're going to make it happen, right?
We're going to make that happen.
All right, Brother Miles, thank you. Make sure you keep us up to date on what's going on. And thank you for taking the time and educating the people and providing us this information.
And I would say that we're taking this thing national.
Absolutely.
People who actually responded to the survey that was done, we reached out nationally, and we got responses from far away as California, Oklahoma, Nevada, Ohio, Virginia, Kentucky.
All right.
So again, elevating the importance of this recreation center that was built by renowned black folks.
All right. Thank you, brother.
My pleasure, sir.
All right. That's where that cue came out.